Hello, so I'm back with another mediumship tip, and today's video we're going to talk about how to deal with grabbers. And this is possibly the first out of maybe 2 or 3 videos, so bear with me. So this is off the back of the last 2 videos that I did where I gave my tips about how to deal with double or triple links in a mediumship demonstration setting. So firstly, let's talk about what do I mean when we say grabbers. So grabbers are those people who come along to a public demonstration, whether it be in a physical place like a church or a centre, or to an online demonstration like Zoom, and they will try to take one, if not multiple, connections that you have during that one event. So for example, you might be giving out 10 pieces of evidence. They might only be able to take 2 pieces, but they'll still try and grab that message. When it's actually not for them, it's for someone else in your audience. And look, I'm not here to denigrate those people, because there are reasons why they do it, which I'll come to in a second. But grabbers, as we call them, they can be quite irritating, and not just to the medium, but also to the audience, because everyone in that audience has come for some kind of connection, really. Some people have come along just to enjoy the evening, but there are other people in that audience and your congregation who are also wanting a connection, a message. So when you've got that one person, or could be multiple people, who try to grab everything that they hear, it can be really irritating for people who are watching you as well, which is something you've also got to consider and remember when you are publicly demonstrating. But look, I get why people will try and grab messages, and that's why I say I'm not trying to denigrate them or slag them off, but it's just to be real about it. But you tend to get message grabbers because when they come to a demonstration, they're not thinking about anybody else, they're thinking about themselves and what messages they can get. And so when they're grabbing, they're not thinking about who am I taking that message from. All they're thinking is, I want a message, I need a message. And because look, some of these people, and like we all do, we all go through grief, but that person could have had a really shitty day, a really shitty month, a really shitty year, where all they want to do is hear from someone in spirit to make them feel connected, to make them feel like they're not alone, to make them feel better. So as much as they can be really irritating to deal with sometimes, I get why people grab messages, I get it. But it's up to you as the medium how you deal with it. That's coming up in part 2. Okay, so part 2 of the grabbers episode. So I've spoken about what a grabber is and why they do it, but let's now talk about how to deal with it. This is my personal opinion. Everyone's going to deal with it individually. This is how I would deal with it, and obviously you can take from it what you want to take from it. So the first thing I'll say is you have to be true to you, be true to spirit, and you are in charge of where that message goes. Right? I always say that it doesn't matter whether you work indirectly or directly in a demonstration situation, as long as you get the message to the right person, that's the most important thing. And actually, well, I do make light of it when I do a demonstration. I will say, I always make sure that I'm with the right person, so you don't go home with someone else's dead relative. Nobody wants that. You want your own relative, right? So as much as I'm making light of it, it's important that you place the link with the right person and you don't just give in to a grabber because they keep putting their hand up. No, what we need to do is to be honest with them and be straight with them. Because remember, by them grabbing every message, what they're doing is taking the message away from somebody else whose message it actually is. Right? And we know that spirit are intelligent, and we know that spirit know where they need to get to, or who they need to get to. And so we need to be honest with these people. Obviously in a nice way. You can't just say, "Oh, shut the fuck up, you." you've got to put it across in a different way. I know it's tempting to say that, but you can't. Not in a church setting anyway. So just to give an example to it. So I was doing a demonstration, I was doing a service, and I was working with a lady, and I knew I was with her. She was understanding what I was saying. You could see she was getting emotional as well during the evidence because it was hitting. She knew it was for her. But as I was delivering her evidence to her, I had 2 ladies at the front who were mumbling between each other. Yeah, that's for you. Yeah, that's for me. He's with the wrong. I'm kind of saying I was with the wrong person. So I was at a point where I was given some evidence, and she put her hand up, she interrupted me and said, "No, you're with me." So I looked at her, and in my head I'm going, okay, calm yourself down, Dave, bite your tongue. So I said, with respect, I'm not with you, I'm with this lady, I'm known with this lady. If you can take the information I'm giving, take it, because it could be a double link, but please don't nick her link from her, This is her connection, not yours. And I pretty much said it like that, because people need to understand that, again, as I said, by them keep grabbing, they're taking away that experience from the other person. They're taking away a connection that this other person in the audience have come for. They need that connection. They need that spirit link. And so you have to be honest with these people and say, no, look, it's not for you. If it's a double link, I might come back to you, but I'm with who I'm with. So please let this person have their connection. Back in part 3. So, third and final video on grabbers. And in this video, I'm going to give an example of what could have started off as a triple link, turned out to be a bit of a grabber at the end. And there's a lesson in this video, which I'll get to in a second. So, doing a demonstration, working how I work, had my connection, gave the evidence, which I felt was quite specific. And 3 people put their hands up. A young lad, an older woman, and a lady at the back. And when it happens, I don't want to be there all day trying to figure out who I'm with. So I go back to spirit and I say, right, give me something specific so I know I'm going to the right person. As I said that, I heard George being put in my mind. And I looked at the young lad, he went, yes, that's his name. And I felt I was with him anyway. Looked at the lady, she didn't know who George was. And the lady at the back, I don't know if she just wasn't sure or not, but she wasn't feeling very communicative in that moment. Anyhow, so I worked with the young man, and it was definitely with him, because I felt that link. And as we know as mediums, you feel the link. As well as getting the evidence, you can feel it's right there as well. So I gave evidence, took everything, knew it was his granddad, because I said it was his granddad. And you can tell when someone gets a little bit emotional, but they're trying to hold it back. You know you've hit a spot somewhere. And so he went away quite happy with the fact that his granddad had come through with some really lovely advice and guidance there as well. So anyhow, the evening ended, everyone was leaving, and the lady at the back, who I thought wasn't quite sure, came up to me and said, I don't know if you could see me, but I did have my hand up as well. I didn't really see a hand up, but that's besides the point. And she said, well, you had my dad with me there, because I could take everything that you said. And I went, well, was it your granddad? She went, no, it wasn't. I said, well, what's a granddad? Because it was that young man's granddad with the name George, which I got as well. She went, yeah, I know, but I could take George, I could take the other name you gave, and my dad was like my granddad, all wrapped into one kind of thing. And you know, you could stand there and go, I'm a bit insulted here because you're telling me I was with the wrong person, but I didn't take it that way because I knew I was with the right person. So I wasn't going to argue with her. I went, oh, okay, that's lovely. If you can take your dad, you can take your dad, whatever. Because I get it, right? She wanted to hear from her dad. But, you know, trying to make something fit doesn't do her dad any justice in spirit, does it? So I wasn't going to argue with her. But at that moment, she wasn't taking anything away from the young man because he'd already gone home by then. He'd had his message and he knew it was his granddad. And that's the lesson here. Now, if I was an unsure medium, if I was unsure of my skills, unsure of my connection, I could have gone home, beaten myself up and gone, oh my God, I gave the wrong link to the wrong person. Someone went home with someone else's dead relative and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't. Why? Because I trust spirit, I trust myself, I know where I'm working and who I'm supposed to be with. Yes, I could have been wrong. If I felt it was granddad, I could have felt it wrong, but I didn't. I heard it was granddad and I trust that over anything. So the message to you guys learning, trust yourself, trust spirit, trust you know what you're doing. Yes, we can make mistakes, but you'll learn along the way. But don't let a grabber or anyone else try and knock your confidence. Trust in your skills, trust in spirit.